everything we believe to be real is only a perception. We have this body, and the body is present in the world and is receiving information from the world via the senses. So we smell and we see and we taste and we hear and we touch. All that information is collected into the brain, and then the brain logs it so we know it for future reference. That's why babies, they put everything in their mouth, because they're trying to create a memory of what it is that they have. So they know, this is a plastic box. It feels like that. And then the brain logs it and knows it for future reference. And that's a brilliant thing, from if you're out in the woods and then don't eat those mushrooms, you can eat those mushrooms, So it's a great way for us to move safely through life, for this meat suit to move safely through the world. So the brain collects all the information. The thing is, though, that when the brain logs it as a memory, it starts to form an opinion about it, which means that all of a sudden, for example, you have tasted a strawberry before, you smell it, you taste it, and that gives you a memory of how it is. So when I say strawberry now, you can almost taste a strawberry. You can almost smell a strawberry, even though you don't have a strawberry, because the brain has logged the information. If you like strawberries, then you're going to start to produce xylin in the mouth that is breaking down the strawberry for when you eat it. The enzymes that are breaking down the strawberry for when you eat it. You start to produce that just by thinking of it, even though there's no strawberry inside. And if you're allergic to strawberries, then you will get a hormonal response that says, be careful, the flight and freeze and flight response is going to kick in, and you're going to release hormones to prepare you for an anaphylactic shock or whatever. So the brain is creating an opinion upon what it has collected, and in that, someone that believe itself to exist is created, which means that there is, when I say there is no you, there is no me, that's what I'm talking about. There's someone that believes itself to exist, and that right now is sitting in the Philippines thinking about strawberries, and sitting in the UK and thinking about strawberries. We're not real. We are a collection of neurons that is giving a perception of reality. And since I am not real and you are not real, I've always found it super fascinating to where does the I then belong? And I know that when we talk non-duality, a lot of teachers keep saying there's no I, and call themselves, this person or whatever, instead of just having a natural conversation about it. And it's because it is complicated. But I'm going to keep saying I and me, myself, and say you and yours, and because otherwise the conversation just gets silly. So I'm going to keep saying that none of it is real. The level we're sitting and talking about now is not real. It's an exchange, because I don't even know that what I'm saying, I don't know if there's anyone that receives the information, I don't know if there's anybody hearing, and I have no control about what they actually hear, because we can only hear within our reference. We have a reference to what we have experienced previously in our lives, and within that reference we are living our lives, which means that what the ego, or the someone believing itself to exist, is doing is basically just copy pasting what we already have experienced. And that's why it's very complicated to start to talk about this, because the ego has no reference for this. The ego is used to fixing and sorting and understanding and putting into a little box, and then it can copy paste. The conversation we have now, where yeah, the conversation we have now is beyond the comprehension of the intellect. It's beyond the comprehension of the someone believing itself to exist. And that's why we keep getting the thoughts and the feelings of doubt, because that's the ego trying, to hook in to us coming back to the logic, to reality. But there is no reality. As long as reality is subjective, it's also what you experience if you have siblings, that you have had a childhood and your sibling has had a completely different childhood. You grew up in the same house, you had the same parents, everything was the same. But your perception of what happened was different, which means that it's subjective, which means that it can't be real. Obviously, it's real to me, but that's only my reality, And then when you start to go into dissolving that, because one thing is intellectually understanding that there is no one, there's no one here. There's only a bundle of neurons giving signals to the brain, and the brain understands, put it into small boxes, and then I act accordingly. That's one thing. The other thing is to completely dissolve about the subject object thing. But I don't want to go into that today. But when you start to dissolve with that, then there's whatever we perceive as real is not even here. But that's another conversation. So yeah, I don't know if I answered your question.
No, it's very clear. It's the ego likes to latch on any identity, any kind of hook, any kind of story. It will create something out of nothing. It wants certainty. It wants the concreteness of reality.
Yeah, and of course it does, because it needs something that, tangible, that can be put into a box on the level with I like strawberries or I don't like strawberries. The problem is then that part of the brain that makes the interpretation also starts to make interpretation about everything else on the level of it's not only do I like strawberries or don't I like strawberries, it's also do I like you or don't I like you, do I like me or don't I like me, and what it normally does is that, well, there's a strawberry, I like it, I eat it. There's a strawberry, I'm allergic, I don't eat it. The ego tends to do the same with our entire lives, which means that we're constantly striving for more. We're constantly striving to expand that. Then you might have taught yourself how to meditate, and now you want to meditate for 20 minutes, then you want to do it for 30 minutes, then you want to do it for an hour, then you want to go on retreats, then you want to. So it's that constant greed, if I can call it that, that constant striving of wanting more and more and more. And when you're there, that's complete ego. There's no presence. There's nothing real about it. Just because we have a sensory experience of something does not mean that it's real.